Oh, not ours.
This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it's time for isms. And again, I'm going to explain what my version of isms is. Many of us are feeling very stressed in the world that we're living in. And I know the way I was brought up. My way was to be nice to your neighbor. You don't have to agree with your neighbor. You don't have to give them your whole background if you don't want to, but you can still be polite and you can be there if your neighbor needs help. But today, it doesn't seem to be that way. People are almost in fear of talking to people who don't have the same mindset as them. So for me, isms is about finding those positive words that will bring us together. Interestingly enough, my guest today, Dave Rosenberg, I met, probably 2, 3 years ago. And we've worked on a couple of different podcasts and projects. And when I invited him to be part of today's discussion, the interesting part is he's working on isms too. And we haven't talked probably in over a year. So neither one of us knew what was going on with each other. However, what I see in Dave is somebody who wants to communicate with others. Not necessarily do you plan to sway people to whatever your beliefs are, but listening to theirs, them listening to yours, and coming together. There's got to be a middle road. So, to my spiritual gangsta who's on, and if you're not watching this, if you're listening to it, you may want to go to YouTube and see his wonderful t shirt. I love it. So, Dave, welcome and give us some background. Like, what does isms mean to you? And what are you trying to step forward?
Yeah, thank you, Karen. Good to see you. It's been a while. And yeah, I think you brought me on for my movie, The Reunion,
Yes.
years ago, which was a movie about me confronting my high school bully. And after the reunion, we did a web series with some friends called Isms, and it was about addiction and recovery. So it was really alcoholism, sexaholism. We did 3 episodes. You can see it. It's on YouTube. Actually, let me show you something. So this was our Isms.
Ah, okay.
So that was a show about addiction and recovery, a comedy. But what we're working on now is a documentary called Bridging the Gap. And it's really about myself, a Democrat, liberal Democrat from Los Angeles, and my producer from the reunion, Susan Gorel, who's a conservative Republican from Iowa. She actually runs a film festival, a fantastic film festival called Julian Dubuque Film Festival in Dubuque, Iowa. She produced my movie, The Reunion, and we've been friends for a long time. And I've had this thought and feeling for a couple of years as I've seen our country get more and more divided and more fear and violence. Um, that really the only way that we truly make America great again is if we start to come together. Um, in part because we're missing the we're missing the point, right? And the point is we have some major problems that need to get solved. Education, and I'm a middle school teacher. Education, the environment. I mean, we have scientists saying that in the next 50 to 100 years, things could get really bad if the planet goes up just a few degrees.
Yep.
We're not dealing with that. Other countries are. Homelessness has become a major issue on the West Coast, Los Angeles, San Francisco. Um, so we have major issues to deal with, and we're not dealing with it because we have politicians that are going back and forth. Well, it's our 4 years now, so we get to implement all of our policies and piss off the other side. And we go back and forth, and we're not dealing with the issues. What we have is middle school banter. And if
Yeah.
we watch the news, we have adults acting like children. And it's sad, but it's also just a distraction. And it's really kind of a form of laziness that we're not doing the work that we really need to do. So we need adults, to step up. But really, it's not going to happen with the politicians, and it's not going to happen with the media or social media because they benefit too much from us being separate and hating each other and make a lot of money from it.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
so what we're going to do is we're going to go in an RV from Los Angeles to New York, and we're going to go to about 15 to 20 cities, and we're going to meet with people, and we're going to have conversations, and we're going to have a Democrat and a Republican talk about a topic, really with the intention of coming together and finding some middle ground. So
So,
that's what we're doing.
yeah. So I'm going to ask you some direct questions because I'm sure some of this is going to come up. Okay. And you are a middle school teacher. And we basically have gotten rid of the Department of Education. So that means less funding to the states. That means the states are going to do less funding to the cities. And our future is being denied what they need, which is a good education. Now, I'm living in a community that is up for a new school levy. And what I'm hearing from people just irritates me because my taxes, if passed, will go up by about $100 a year. $10 a month? Come on. The schools form our communities. If we don't take care of those kids in the schools, our community is going to fall apart. Those kids are not going to be able to grow up to have some of the educational benefits that many of us have. How does that work for you to go to school and teach your kids and know that next year you may not be able to do as much as you've done this year or years past?
I try not to look too much at the macro because there's just too much fear and worry there. I really just try to keep it in what can I do today and what can I do with the people around me. I still go to school, I still teach every day, I still inspire my kids. I teach film, so my kids are making movies. They're brilliant. I thought if I have one class, my favorite class, if they were running the country right now, we'd be in much better shape. Um, and I think it's just a matter of what do we prioritize? You have different leaders that want to prioritize different things, but at the end of the day, it again comes down to the people. It's supply and demand. What the people want is what the politicians are going to do. So if the people say, we want to prioritize our education, we're tired of just prioritizing our military, we're tired of just prioritizing, whatever, campaign fight, putting a ton of money into politics, um, things will change. I mean, I still see great things happening in my school. My school has gotten better and better year after year. So it's possible. It's just what do we prioritize?
The other thing I've heard in the schools is, and I was offered a teaching job this past year, and I turned it down because it was in the inner city schools, and they've had one too many incidents at the school. And I thought, look, at my age, I don't run fast enough. And as much as I would like to believe I'm going to take a bullet for my students, I don't know if I would. Um, but when I turned it down, they kept calling me and asking me, please come take the job. And I found out that this job has been open for over 7 months and they have volunteers who just come and sit in the classroom. And they've got to pass the kids in that class because it's not their fault. They're not being taught. And so part of me felt almost guilty that I should say, yes, I'll do it. But I also felt I had to prioritize other things, just as you're talking about. And one of those prioritization is I'm not going to be good to those kids in the classroom. So what I've started doing is putting together materials and sending it to the school and having those subs or volunteers at least give handouts, give the kids some education. And so I agree with you that it has to come from us. Okay. If government's not going to do it, and there's too many things on government's plate, let's be honest, you know, that we as individuals have to think about what we can do to make today a better day than yesterday. So you're going to go cross country, and I find it incredible that both you and your producer, red and blue, are really purple. And there's a lot of us that are in relationships like that. How do we get people across the nation, as you come talking to them, to really start to feel comfortable that we can blend?
Yeah. But first, I want to mention our website, which is still under construction. It's bridgingthegapmovie.com, bridgingthegapmovie.com. Check it out. You'll see our map of where we're going and a little bit about us, and you can reach out to us through email. How do we bridge the gap is what I'm hearing. I think it's really just talking to each other. I think we've stopped talking to each other in a lot of ways. The more we're isolated, the more we're building up ideas and stories in our minds of what the other side is. You know, um, Democrats think Republicans are Nazis, and Republicans think that Democrats are communists. I mean,
Yeah.
and then you meet somebody out on the street and you just have a talk and you go, wait a minute, what? What? And I think it's been exacerbated by the fact that over the last 20 years, we've become so isolated, in large part because of technology. And we're all on our smartphones or in our apartments, solitary or what have you, that it just gets built up and built up and built up. And I think that the only answer again is that we start to come together, and build communities. It's nice to see these town halls that I've been seeing,
Yes.
people getting together and voicing their opinions, and it's a start. I've heard people focusing on like the lack of bowling leagues, that we used to have bowling leagues where people would come together from all sides and you didn't really talk about politics or what side you're on. You just came together. So I think that's it. I think, people that are in different places in the country who don't get to meet other people build up stories that aren't true. And then when people start to talk to each other, they realize we have a lot more in common than we do apart. We all get up and eat, and we all sleep, and we all have families, and we all go to work. I mean, we all have so much in common. And, I think a lot of our opinions are our egos. And for whatever reason, based on, you know, um, some sort of primal thing that we need to be right. We think that we need to be right or we're going to die. For whatever reason, that's, somehow an evolutionary thing in our brains that we hold on to that very strongly, that need to be right.
It's interesting because in one of my coaching sessions, my coach kept asking me that day, so how is that working for you? Kept repeating it. So now I have it on my computer screen because I might have an opinion, but I now have to ask myself, how is that working for me? I can still have the opinion and not share it with anybody because if I share it with somebody who is going to be on the opposite end, it could turn into an argument. If I don't want to create that argument, I don't have to put it out there. And that's what I want people to understand is that we may not like certain things that are happening, but unless you're willing to move forward and come up with a plan and recommend the plan and be willing to blend it because we're going to have to. We all don't think on the same wavelength. I know that when I first watched your first film, I saw it sort of in a different light than where you were taking it. And I remember telling that to you. And I realized why, because I was thinking of how I felt I had been bullied when I was growing up. And my son was just coming out of a situation where he had been bullied for over 10 years. So when I watched the movie, I saw it one way. And it's like, but that's okay. I saw it. I felt it. I understood maybe not so much your pain, but it helped me work through mine. Just recently, my son watched it. And he said, why didn't you have me watch this a couple years ago? I felt like Really? I said it to you numerous times, but he finally said, wow, I don't have to confront my bully face to face. He's confronted his bully internally. And maybe that's something that we also have to do as Americans. We don't have to confront everything face to face, yell, and go in the wrong direction. Because typically, if we get too excited, our words can come out wrong, our meaning is misunderstood.
Yeah. First of all, if you want to check out my movie, it's thereunionfilm.com. And you can see the trailer. And then if you want to purchase it, or I think you can watch it for free at this point. I'm not making any money off of it. Just go ahead and check it out. Thereunionfilm.com, a movie about a guy confronting his childhood nemesis or not. Maybe he doesn't. Yeah, I think the temperature has been turned up so much in our culture. I don't know how it gets turned. I mean, talk about global warming. I mean, what a metaphor. I don't know how it gets turned down, but I know it needs to get turned down. I just the one thing I try to work on, and the reason that I do this work is because I'm still working on this stuff myself. How do I get along with people? I still have a hard time because I'm very passionate and I have very big opinions and I can get caught up in that ego stuff. But I think if there was one thing that everybody worked on, just one thing that everybody worked on, it would calm things down and turn down the temperature, and that's being reactive. We are all so reactive, and that speaks to a part of our brain that again is from when we were, evolutionarily back in the jungle. I mean, it's
Yeah.
that reptilian part of our brain in the back that's just going to react, react, react without thinking. And again, that causes all the hatred and violence and vitriol and antipathy and again, that's what the media feeds off of. That's what the politicians are feeding off of, and they're getting rich off of it. And sitting down and getting along with somebody may not make the best news. You know what I mean? I mean, I remember a day when you watch the news and you'd see all kinds of different stories.
Yes.
Now you turn on CNN, MSNBC, Fox, and it's all Trump
Yeah.
all the time. I mean, he's got it. He's won. He
Yeah.
has done what he's wanted to do. He has perfected this particular system in this particular time in this particular culture. And we're all buying it, left and right. So how do we turn down the temperature? And it's reflected in the way we live. It's reflected in our food, sugar, coffee, go, 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 go. It's reflected in our social media. Go, 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 go. I mean, we're all addicted,
We
and
are.
it's not a healthy way to live. I mean, I think at one point in the 1900s, were one of the healthiest countries in terms of food. And now I think we're like, out of 25 countries, we're like 25th in obesity. I mean, the way that our food has been,
Doctored.
I want to say, poisoned,
Yeah.
doctored in the last 50 years. I mean, it's bad. Just look at the facts, look at the studies. So our food, our medicine, I mean, people just, I'm on pharmaceuticals, you know what I mean? And they're not bad, they help in some ways, but our food, our medicine, our social media, and what our kids are dealing with. I mean, our brains are not set up to deal with what we're dealing with. And we've lost our connection to nature in a lot of ways,
And
you
didn't
know?
you think a lot of this was going to change during the pandemic and after the pandemic? Because a lot of us had slowed down. We said, this is great. I love being at home. I love going for a walk. Um, I'm going to make sure that I connect with my friends and family, even if it's virtually. And that lasted for a short period of time. And then we became, well, no, I can't do this. I gotta keep working. I gotta climb that mountain. And I've had people say to me, so you've been doing this for 11 years, Karen. Well, you must be at the top of the heap on podcasting. No, never wanted to be. I wanted to do it because I have a need to hear other people's stories. I have a need for my listeners to hear their stories because, as you said, we have so much in common. We don't realize it till we hear the story. And when you hear the story and how somebody got through it, it may not be the way you're going to, but it could light a fire and say, okay, what can I try? For example, on Christmas Eve, with dinner all prepared, I went out in the living room to say something to my husband. I was standing next to our stairwell. I did a pivot. I hit the door jamb to the bathroom and it broke my shoulder. And there I was lying on the floor in pain. And my son had come home for the holidays. He heard my scream. He came running downstairs. And both he and my husband are standing over me going, are you okay? Wanted to kill the two of them. But where the story is going, for 11 days, I had to wait until they could do surgery. I was in severe pain. Our holiday had been all messed up. Something clicked and it said, you were moving too fast. You were trying, you were thinking about one thing, you were talking about another, you were standing in a position you probably shouldn't have been. Okay, you know what this accident did, Karen? It made you slow down. And it did. It made me learn to ask for help because for the first 2 weeks, I couldn't do anything for myself. I'm hoping that I can keep that in mind each and every day going forward. Because if you slow down, you might not be number one in your office. You may not have an Academy Award for your movie. But if you succeeded in creating it, that should feel enough. And I think you're going to see that when you go cross country.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point. I mean, it's a question to ask. I mean, right now we may not have all the answers, but we could put out some questions. How do we slow down? And I think it's interesting that this is all happening in a time in history where we actually have all of the resources. We have all of the solutions and we have all the techniques, you know? We have, yoga, we have meditation. That's been brought from the East in the 60s. I mean, what the Beatles helped to do is to bring that technology. Um, we have ways of communicating that over the last 30 or 40 years, we've had men's movements, we've had women's movements, we've had um, you know, transformational programs that have given us so many tools, but we're distracted because we've had an absolute onslaught of the opposite. Fast, fast, fast. Make money, social media, coffee, sugar, go, 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 go. So how do we slow down? The other question I would ask is how do we get into solution? How do we spend less time fighting each other over opinions that are opinions? They're not facts, they're opinions. I mean, right? What's the saying? Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one.
Like that.
You know what I mean? What if instead of two people sitting for 4 hours arguing with each other, they went down and fed the homeless together? Wouldn't that be more beneficial? I mean, what if politicians that are arguing with each other about things that happened previously, about their opinions on whatnot, that they go and fix some problems? It's just a slight shift, and it's just letting go of the ego. I mean, what you were talking about earlier in terms of, you know, uh, having to say what we need to say. I mean, how about just listening? I mean, how much would be solved? And that's something I want to practice going across the country. Because if I'm talking all the time and spewing my opinions, I'm going to miss the whole ball game. I want to know what people are going through. I want to know what Republicans are going through. I want to know what Democrats are going through. I want to know what people are going through. Because I'm not going to have the same ideas in my head about who is what and, stories that I build up. If I know that, you're struggling to pay your bills and working two or three jobs to, have put food on the table for your kids. I mean, who cares about who's a Republican or a Democrat when you're talking about that? So how can we listen? It's another good
Yep.
question to ask.
So what is interesting, when I was growing up, and I'm quite a bit older than you are,
Hmm,
um, we
maybe.
learned that you really didn't talk politics in public. My parents had a ton of friends, and I don't think they knew which way they voted. Didn't make any difference. They were social friends. They got together. They had a good time together. The only thing I remember back in the 50s, my mother's best friend, her husband, always had to drive the fanciest car. And he went out and bought a fancy Cadillac. And I remember my father saying to him, Mercedes is a fancier car than a Cadillac. Why are you driving a Cadillac? And he goes, because Mercedes is made by Nazis. Now, this is the late 50s. The war was over. Okay. Most people didn't talk about Germans as Nazis at that point, but that was his. And I remember this loud, horrible conversation about it. My father could barely afford a Chevy, let alone a Cadillac or Mercedes, but he was just trying to drive the point home. You wanted the best, fantastic car. Why didn't you go get this one? And that stuck with me for a long time. He's the only gentleman I knew back in those days that I heard a totally distinct, angry position. We're allowed to have our opinions, but when our opinions hurt other people, that's when our opinion should be kept to ourselves. And I think that's important. And I'm hoping as you go across country and find individuals who share their stories, I'm hoping you're going to find that you and I are right, that we have more in common. Republicans suffer as much as Democrats. Democrats hurt as much as Republicans. Cancer doesn't identify what your religion is, what your political party is, what country you came from. And when we say these mean and nasty things about each other, we're creating a cancer.
Yeah, I mean, and every time we come together, every conversation that we have with somebody else that ends in peace or inspiration is a victory. Again, it's the macro is just too hard to deal with. How are we going to fix the world, change the world? The world is the world. But if two people to come together and not hate each other and, at least be neutral, then that's a victory, right?
Yeah,
I want to mention some of the cities we're going to just in case
sure.
some of your listeners want to meet up with us or be interviewed. And again, they can go to bridgingthegapmovie.com if they want to get in touch with us. So we're starting in Los Angeles. We'll be going to Flagstaff, Arizona, Santa Fe, New Mexico, Boulder, Colorado. We'll also be going to Columbine to hopefully talk to people that may have been affected by the
Sure.
shootings in 1999. We're going to be going to Kearney, Nebraska, Dubuque, Iowa, Donaldson, Iowa, St. Louis, Missouri, Nashville, Tennessee, Waxhaw, North Carolina, Fredericksburg, Virginia, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and Allentown, Pennsylvania, and ending with New York City. And what we're hoping to do in New York City is to do a kind of a final event, which we're hoping to be a concert. So we're going to try to bring together some musicians and have a concert at the end.
I think that's wonderful. When are you going to be in Nashville, Tennessee?
Let me look. That is a great question. Twill be in July. Our dates are still shifting a little bit, but right now we have planned July 5th and 6th.
Okay. Well, I'm going to let my son know because he's living 2 hours from Nashville. And he has written a song that I would love for him to share with you. is called This Ain't America to Me. And um, what he begs for in that song is for us to come together and bring it back. And so I'm going to put him in touch with you.
Please do.
In the meantime, you and Susan are going to come back on next month.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll
Look
get a
forward to
date set. I can't wait to meet her, see blue and red become purple, that's actually my favorite color. So I'll wear a purple blouse that afternoon.
I love
Okay.
it. I see that your isms is purple. You actually got the Lakers colors there as I'm in Los Angeles.
Hey, did you watch the NBA draft? You got some good WNBA players yesterday.
Oh, really? I did not know that. I'm really a New York fan because I'm from New
Uh,
York. I do root for the LA teams, but I'm a Knicks guy. But it's
I
getting very
see.
exciting for basketball as the playoffs are beginning.
Well, this year for the playoffs, hopefully the Guardians are going to show that they really have been good this year. But we'll see.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll talk soon and thank you very much. And
Thanks, Gary.
have a blessed day. Bye bye
Always
now.
good to see you. Thank you.